Hello, thank you. Thank you for being here with us today. My name is Michelle Morris, and I'm from Consolidated Planning Group. I want to thank Christine Reyes for having me today to speak to you. She's from the City of Laredo Health Department. And it's through a coordinated effort between our two organizations that I'm available to present to you today. So we are going to be talking about key steps to achieving transition success with your special needs loved one. So I want to go over a few things before we get started. First of all, we are in webinar mode. That means that I cannot see you or hear you, the participants who are here. But I know you're here because I see the number of participants. So I do appreciate you being here, and I would love to get to as many questions as you have, as many that I can answer for you. If you would just put your comments and questions in the chat box, then I'll be able to get to as many of those as possible. And if it seems like I'm ignoring your question, please forgive me. It just means that, maybe I'm about to get to a slide that will talk about that information or something like that. Also, we now have a podcast. So for people who prefer to listen rather than watch the webinars, you can certainly get a copy of these slides sent to you if you contact us by email. That email address is contact@cpgcares.net. And we'd be happy to send you these slides. For everyone else who registered for the webinar, you will automatically receive the slides and a link to this webinar when we're finished here today. And I might mention that several times because I know as people come late, they might ask several times. So I don't mean to beat a dead horse when I keep mentioning that, but people like to know. Again, I'm Michelle Morris with Consolidated Planning, holistic special needs planning firm. But we serve families all throughout Texas, and as a matter of fact, all across the United States. We have over 30 years of experience, investments and insurance services, securities, things like that, of the Special Needs Planning Academy. And we are also nationally certified as Social Security advisors. People really come to us, families come to us for things like protection plans for their family, like insurance, life insurance, and planning for the future. How much is that lifetime care for to cost, especially if they are unable to be independent or keep a job, or if they need care for the rest of their life. That can be expensive, and we help families plan for those costs. Transition planning, when they turn 18 and the government says, okay, now they're adults in the eyes of the law, some things change, and babies, you have to be prepared for that transition time. We help family accounts and other investment products, and we're really here to advocate and educate. The founders of our company, they have 4 kids altogether, excuse me, and 2 of them have special needs. So when our founder, Allison, and her husband, Jeff, were going through this with their own family, they saw how complicated and nuanced this maze can be for families. And we want to make it as clear as possible and give you a roadmap so that you can figure it out way easier than they had to. There are over 600, there are so many financial advisors across the United States. And out of all the financial advisors in the United States, fewer than 0.1% of them focus on special needs planning. So you are truly in the right place when you're here with us. We are nuanced in everything special needs and financial advising and insurance services and everything in between. Like I said, we take a holistic approach to your picture. So several things to get started, and we are going to talk about a lot of these today. We're going to talk about a lot of different areas, and it might go a little bit quickly, but please feel free to rewatch this webinar as many times as you'd like. All of our webinars live on our YouTube channel when we're finished recording them, and you can check them out there. First of all, we would like for you to develop a letter of intent. Work with a special needs planner to help you formulate your plan for the future, thinking about how much money you might need or what services your loved one needs. Planning attorney who focuses on special needs matters. Not everyone can do this. And if you have somebody, maybe a friend or a neighbor who is an attorney who says, oh, I can do those things for you for cheap. Well, that's great. And that's so kind of them to want to help. But we've found that it really takes an expert to make sure you do everything correctly. And if you have a friend who can do it for you, you just want to make sure it's done right. So when you're thinking about getting started with financial planning, with special needs planning, it's important to gather up all of the documents that you currently have. What are we currently working with? What's our current state look like? Gather up all of your planning documents and think about your vision for the future. How do you hope things are going to look for you in your retirement and throughout the rest of your working years and the rest of your life? And how do you want things to look for your loved ones? What are your goals for them and your hopes? So the first thing I mentioned is a letter of intent, and that might have left some of you saying, well, what is that? The first thing she's talking about, I don't even know what it is. Well, here you go. A letter of intent is something that is very important. As the main caregiver of your family, you probably know more than anybody about your loved one. And, you're not going to always be there. So it would be tragic if you were to pass away and all of that knowledge about your loved one and how to care for them and what they need and what you have in place for them, all of that knowledge is gone with you. So we encourage you to put this information together in what is called a letter of intent. This includes things like your family information, medical history, government benefits that you already have in place, or if you're on the waiting list for government benefits, things like that. What arrangements you've already made or hope to make for your loved one, their educational history and employment history. Of course, medical history is super important. Their personality, their habits, recreation, fitness, what spiritual and spiritual values you want for them. Who will their legal guardians be? Everything here on this list. And it's very convenient. I think, before I came to financial advising, I was a teacher. I was an English teacher. So the English teacher in me says, start this document on your computer. Take your time putting it all together because this is a lot of information. And then print your document. And then when you go back to it, as your family grows and evolves, and as your loved one grows and evolves, it'll be easy to change, update what needs to be updated, and then print the latest version and maybe put it in a binder with all of your other important documents for your loved one. We've had webinars in the past where we talk about building a grab and go binder. So in case of emergencies or in case somebody needs to know all there is to know about your family, this would be the perfect place to store your letter of intent. Maybe keep their information about their trust, power of attorney for finances or medical power of attorney, where you keep your important information. And if you're going to need somebody to be able to log into your accounts or get onto your computer, you're going to need to write down your passwords and things like that for them. Who your team of professionals is, who are your trusted neighbors, who at the school would be able to help, who in your circle of professional help, like doctors, attorneys, and special needs planners, can help somebody who might need to step in and take your place. That is what a letter of intent is all about. It is not a binding legal document. You don't have to have it notarized or witnessed or signed or anything like that. It's just a document that you should have available for anybody who needs to step in your place and kind of take over. And it's great also when you're putting together this information to include your family, include your loved ones, and especially your loved one with the disability. This is all about them. So include them when you're putting this information together. What would they like people to know about you? What do their siblings want people to know? And maybe they have a different perspective about their sibling than you have, and know some things that you might even be able to learn while you're going through this process. One thing that we know keeps a lot of people awake at night is worrying about how your child's care is going to be funded once you're gone. Once you maybe retire and you're not able to provide for your family anymore, are you going to have enough money saved up? How does it all work? And how can you save money for them when they can only have $2,000 or they lose their benefits? This is where a special needs planner who is nuanced in all of these things really come in handy. It's really important that you preserve their eligibility for state and federally funded programs. It's great. It's great for you to establish a special needs trust. You can put as much money into a special needs trust as you want to help provide for your child's care. So this would be things like your life insurance. It can pass tax-free to your heirs, go straight into their special needs trust, and be there to help them in the future. Any other assets like your investments can also go into that special needs trust. You can also have an ABLE account to save for your child's future. There are rules and regulations, and of course, we're going to go through some of those. But first of all, what should you apply for? And when should you apply for these things? So SSI is important. It is through the Social Security Administration, but it's not Social Security. It's called Supplemental Security Income. And you can apply for SSI whenever, but if your child is a minor, they're going to look at the parent's income and assets, and most people are going to be denied because you as adults have more than the guidelines for income and assets. But as your child turns into an adult, when they turn 18, they should be able to qualify because you're going to help them prepare. You're going to make sure that they do not have more than $2,000 in their name, more than one house, one car, and that they're not making more than the amount that the SSI, the government looks at, which is $1,470 per month right now. That's $1,470 a month. We're going to cover that again. But when you are approaching your child's 18th birthday, you want to start gathering these materials, making sure that their bank account is below $2,000, making sure that you set up an appointment with the Social Security office to get them filed for SSI benefits. There's a great website. You can start your application online, which is great because it helps things go a lot faster. And it also saves your place in line if they're not able to get to you maybe for a couple months or get your file all completed, then they can backdate that payment for you to whenever you started the application. So get it started the day your child turns 18, get ready to go with all of this information. You want to have evidence that your child has a disability. They're going to want to see that. They're going to want to see a medical history, the doctor's names and addresses, whoever's treating your child currently, what their list of diagnoses are, what medications they're on, and what those medications are for. They don't really care so much about the dosage and how many times a day you take these medications, but what are they on and what is it for? If your child is working, they're going to want to see the employer information, what your child is earning, and they'll want to see your child's bank account so that they can look and see if they have too much money, if they qualify for these benefits. And consider chatting with your primary care physician before you start this process. This is a great way to make sure that they have everything in the file that needs to be in there. Because if you have to prove that your child has a disability, you want to check their file and make sure that everything that is needed is in their file, that you can show that they have a disability. And then when the Social Security Administration requests those records from your doctor, you have peace of mind knowing that they are getting all of the information and it's all correct. So after you apply, there are a few things that you should expect. First of all, expect that it typically takes up to 6 months, and sometimes in atypical situations, it takes even longer to get an answer back regarding SSI. Typically, they will provide back pay, especially if you start by applying online. They will back pay you for the monies that you've been missed while they're trying to make a decision. Another thing that we often hear is that you might not know when you're applying for SSI that they are automatically also filling out an application for you for SSDI, which is a different thing, and you probably will not qualify for SSDI. So you think you're calling to apply for SSI, they're filling out both applications, and then they're going to send you a letter that says you've been denied. Well, that's for the SSDI because that's something that's going to come for your child later in life once you turn on your Social Security benefits. So don't panic if you get a letter. Look at the fine print and see if that's talking about SSDI, which you probably will not qualify for. Then it will take a little bit longer and you'll get a letter that says, hopefully, that you are approved for SSI. And again, these are two different programs. It's okay that you're going to be denied for SSDI right now. We'll worry about that later, okay? So after your file is complete at your local office, and you always want to contact your local office for Social Security information, not the federal office, because they're just going to reroute you back to your local office, and you're going to spend 45 minutes on the phone waiting. So just call the local office. They're going to get together your application and put it in your file, and then send it to Disability Determination Services in Austin. The Disability Determination Services office is going to look at the file, request your medical history, request the records from the doctor, do all that stuff and double check everything. You can call them, and we've included their phone number here for you. They do answer the phone, and they will be able and willing to let you know who the file has been assigned to, if they're working on it, and if everything is in there that they need, if your doctor has responded in a timely manner, or maybe if you need to call the doctor's office and get on them to send up those medical records. So again, you will receive these slides later today in email, so you'll have that phone number that you can reach out to. So I mentioned is something that comes later, and it's kind of confusing because this has several different names to refer to the same thing within the Social Security Administration. But this is when you as a parent turn on your Social Security benefits, maybe because you're retired and you're ready to start receiving those benefits, or maybe because you're disabled and you turn on Social Security disability payments for yourself, or when a parent passes away. When those things happen, then your child will start to draw SSDI. Sometimes they call it Disabled Adult Child Benefits, DAC. Sometimes they call it CDB, Childhood Disability Benefits. These are all terms for the same thing. Typically, this is when a parent is in their late 60s, they turn on their benefits, then the child starts to get this. After years of receiving SSI, now they're going to switch over to SSDI. You can't get both at the same time. You get whichever one is higher. So the way it works is that, let's say, for example, a parent turns on their benefits and they're going to get $3,000 a month from Social Security as their Social Security retirement benefit. So the parent starts getting $3,000 a month. If you have a disabled adult child, that child is able to draw from your record and get half of whatever you get. Now, this does not reduce the amount that the parent gets. So you'll still get your $3,000 a month, but now your child is going to start getting $1,500 a month, and they will receive that benefit until you pass away. Once it's turned on, they'll receive that benefit, half of your benefit amount until you pass away. When you pass away, that amount will go from half to 75%, and your child will receive that for the rest of their lives. We can help you make sure that you get signed up for all of that correctly and that you pull the trigger for your Social Security at the right time to make sure you get the maximum allowable benefit for your family. After your child starts getting this SSDI or CDB or DAC payment, once they start doing that and they're on that for 2 years or 24 months, then they will be eligible for Medicare and they will not lose their Medicaid. So they'll be dual eligible. They'll be able to have Medicare and Medicaid. Be aware that there are family maximums involved. So if you have multiple children with disabilities or a spouse who is disabled, who is not working, and they're also drawing off your benefits, if you have a lot of people drawing off of one person's benefits, you might run into a family maximum limit. So don't panic if that happens. But again, we can help you determine the total amount of benefits that you should be receiving. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to plow ahead. So how do you protect those benefits for your child? And you make sure that they still get their SSI or SSDI for a long time, as long as they're entitled to getting them. And they get their waiver programs and they get their Medicaid or Medicare, and they don't lose any of it. How do you make sure? Well, it's really important that you put your child's benefits and their assets into the right buckets of money. Make sure that their name is not set up as a beneficiary on anything directly. So for example, your life insurance, when you pass away, that's going to pass to your heirs tax-free, which is great. But if your life insurance company has your child listed as a beneficiary, you need to change that immediately. Typically, people say, okay, my assets are going to first go to my spouse if you're married. And then after we're both gone, it will be split equally with our children. And that's so typical. Almost everybody does that. But when you have a child who has a special need or a disability, or they're trying to get benefits from the government, and all of a sudden they have this amount of money dropped on them, they're going to lose their benefits because they're not going to fit within those asset guidelines that we talked about earlier. So what you want to do is set up a trust for your special needs child. And you want to make sure that everyone in your family who might leave money to this child knows that it has to go to their trust, not to them directly. So in your life insurance account, for example, you might say your beneficiary is the special needs trust for the benefit of Johnny Smith, not just Johnny Smith. Okay, so make sure that you have it set up correctly and that your family members set it up correctly. And it's not enough just to have it in your will. You have to set it up this way with the companies that are holding your accounts. Okay. Is your money in the right buckets? Again, it's so important that you make sure that you have a special needs trust for their future care. All of your current life insurance and assets pass to that special needs trust. And you can also have an ABLE account to help make sure that you're putting money aside for your loved one in ways that won't jeopardize their benefits. A special needs trust and guardianship are two things that you're going to have an attorney help you set up. They'll do your will, they'll do your special needs trust, they'll do guardianship, and you need to work with an attorney who is nuanced in special needs planning. Now, at Consolidated Planning Group, we are not attorneys, but we work with attorneys across the state of Texas who know all about special needs planning and who can help you with these things. So we refer our clients to these attorneys that we've heard of or worked with in the past, and we trust them to help our clients. So again, that special needs trust is going to be really important to help you make sure you're preserving your benefit eligibility. The guardianship process, that can start when you are within 6 months of your child turning 18. And you'll need to get with an attorney to start the process. It is a legal proceeding. You will have to go to court and get a judge to rule and go through the entire process, because you are taking away rights from your child in the guardianship process. Basically, you're saying that they are going to forever be your child and you will forever have guardianship over them. You have to work with an attorney to prepare those documents. So let's focus on ABLE accounts for a while. I've talked about it a little bit, but let's get into some of the details about ABLE accounts. The beneficiary of the ABLE account is the account owner, and that is okay. The government knows, the Social Security Administration knows, they set this up on purpose. It's not like you're hiding money or anything like that. An ABLE account is a place where you can put money for your loved one with limits and regulations, and it earns money. The money that you put in is invested. It earns money, and the income that is earned in that account does not get taxed. It's very similar to a 529 college savings plan. That's a 529C. This is a 529A for ABLE. Unfortunately, you don't get a tax break on the money you put into your ABLE account federally. Some states allow you to take a tax break, but since we're in Texas and Texas doesn't even have state income tax, well, you don't get a break on your state income taxes for that reason. But if you're in another state, you might be able to claim a deduction on that. Again, it does not jeopardize any other benefits. Now, there are limits on how much you can put in and what you can use the money for. That's really important. So you can use your ABLE account to pay for anything that achieves a better life experience for a person with a disability. As a matter of fact, that's what ABLE stands for, achieving a better life experience. So you can pay for financial management and administration services, transportation, education, training, any mobile devices, assistive technology, personal support services, legal expenses. All of that can be paid for from your ABLE account. You can pay for food and shelter from your ABLE account without causing a reduction to any SSI benefits. Now, that's a little bit of a point of determination that you need to know about. Your ABLE account can pay for food and shelter without that 1/3 reduction. However, if you are still receiving SSI and you use your special needs trust to pay for food and shelter, they will cut your benefit by 1/3. Okay, so that's why the two different savings accounts or benefit programs, however you want to see them, work well together. Having a special needs trust is good because you can put as much money in there as you want. There's no limit on how much money you can put in, but you really shouldn't use it if you're relying on SSI. You shouldn't really use the trust for food and shelter. On the other hand, the ABLE account, there is a limit on how much you can put in each year, but you can use it for pretty much anything that you want that makes a better life for your child. So there is no reduction to the SSI if you use the ABLE account to pay for food and shelter. What is that amount that you can put into an ABLE account? $17,000 this year. So first of all, okay, you can have an ABLE account if you have a disability that began before you turned age 26. That's, the disability was noticed and diagnosed before your 26th birthday. You can have an ABLE account. Anyone can set up the ABLE account. Anyone can put money into the ABLE account for a person. So if grandma and grandpa want to contribute, that's fine. But the amount you can put in each year is limited to whatever the gift tax exclusion for the year is. So for 2023, the gift tax exclusion is $17,000. So that means that's how much you can put into your ABLE account for 2023, unless your child is working. If they're working, they can put in more money. They can put into their ABLE account an additional $13,590. Now, it is very important that you do not let your child's ABLE account go above $100,000 in total. So if you're putting $17,000 in every year, you're going to get to a point where it's going to go over $100,000. And if that happens, Social Security will cut off your other benefits because they think that's enough for you. You've got enough. You don't need our help. Okay, so you just want to make sure you keep your ABLE account under $100,000 in total. Again, you can use that money for anything that makes a better life experience for a person with a disability. The growth is tax-free. You can roll over an ABLE account into another family member's name as long as they qualify. That means they must also have a disability. You can also roll money from a 529 college savings account into an ABLE account if you think that your child might not need that money for college and want to be able to use it for other things. You can put it in the ABLE account, and then you can still pay for college through the ABLE, but you can pay for so many more things. Another thing that is important to know about the ABLE account is that when your child passes away, if there is still money left in this account, Medicaid can come back and the state might claim some money from their ABLE account as a reimbursement for the Medicaid expenses paid on behalf of your child while they were living. So, some people say that they don't want Medicaid to get any of that money. So, okay, use that money and keep the balance low, because once your child passes away, if there's money there, they can come back and reclaim some of it. Again, this is a list of some of the items that a special needs trust can pay for, which is a lot of different things that the special needs trust can pay for. But what's really more important than this list is this one. This is the list of things that you should not use your special needs trust to pay for. And it's basically food and shelter and things that people need for daily living: rent, mortgage payments, real estate taxes, utilities like gas, water, and electricity, sewage, homeowners insurance. If there are condo fees that are required by your homeowner association, those cannot be paid for with a special needs trust. I mean, you can pay for those things, but if you do, you're going to jeopardize your SSI benefits or lose 1/3 of those benefits. Cash and food is another thing. You don't want to use your trust for cash or food. And this is all if you are relying on SSI. Now, if it's later in your child's life and you're in your late 60s and you turn on your Social Security benefits, remember we talked about that, and your child switches from SSI to SSDI, then you're not relying on SSI anymore. You won't really care if there's a 1/3 reduction to your SSI benefits, and therefore you can use the special needs trust. But again, if you have questions, you can contact our office and we are happy to walk you through this when you do special needs planning with us. This is something that we help families understand all the details of and make sure you get it right. So our main advice to you really is that this question that's keeping you awake at night, who will care for your child when you no longer can? It's really important to plan ahead. That's our main goal, is to help you plan ahead, because developing that future care plan for your family, for your loved ones, is going to help you answer these questions. And the sooner you plan, the more impact you can have on your future, both financially and, in your ability to grow relationships with people who you need on your team, and your ability to sleep at night knowing that you have the peace of mind that this information is taken care of. Think about what's going to happen after high school. There are a lot of vocational options available. There are educational options at all over the country. Different schools offer different programs at different levels. And then transition residential planning, thinking about once you're gone, or once you're unable to care for your child anymore, or once they're ready to maybe move to a community, what will that look like for them? Are you thinking of maybe a group home or a residential community? There are partial care options and full care options. And you need to kind of sort that out ahead of time to find the right spot, first of all, and then to see if that right fit for you is affordable, if the location is good, if their programs are good, and if there's a waiting list. Once you go tour these facilities, you might find just the right spot and be ready to move your kid, and then find out, oh, there's a long waiting list, so now we have to wait. So do your homework in advance and find these things out, and make careful consideration before you just say, oh, Johnny's older sister, Janelle, is going to take care of him when he gets older. Maybe Janelle at that point might have a feeling of obligation that she has to take care of her little brother. And while she's willing, because she loves him, going on and her own things to do. And it might become a little bit of a sore spot. Maybe Johnny, he's living his best life with mom and dad, and then mom and dad are gone and big sister steps in. He might feel a little bit of a sense of resentment and feel like, you're not my mom, you're my sister. Our loving, supportive relationship, now you're trying to be the boss of me. That's kind of weird. And you certainly don't want to spring surprises on any of your family members. So planning ahead and knowing and helping your loved one through the transition process is the way to go. Definitely. You don't want to put it off and at the last minute, maybe they're going through a lot of changes, like your passing, and now they have to move into a community, and they didn't know this was all coming. And if possible, of course, we don't know what the future holds, but if possible, prepare them as much as you can for these transitions that are going to come their way. Texas waiver programs. So you might have heard about these. If you're not on the waiting list for the Texas waiver, on the waiting list as soon as possible. Everybody on this call should call at least 2 phone numbers to make sure you are on all the waiting lists that you need to be on. We used to say these lists are 15 to 17 years long. I've been told recently that we should start saying 20 to 25 years long to wait for waiver program help. Now, these are lists that are throughout the entire state of Texas. Every child who has a disability needs to be on this waiting list. So call the first number, the 1-877 number, to get on the MDCP, CLAS, and DMVD waiting lists. The next slide is going to tell us what these all are. But even if you don't qualify for one of those, everybody should qualify for CLAS. So everybody listening to me needs to call that phone number. The other grouping of waiver programs here, HCS, Texas Home Living, and Community First Choice, you need to call your local intellectual and developmental disability authority to get on those lists. Those go by county, so you need to look up your county that you live in and call the LIDA for your county and tell them you want to get on the waiting lists for the waiver programs. The STAR Plus waiver, the last one listed there, is for children who are 21 and up. So if your child is 21 or about to be 21, you can put them on the STAR Plus waiver. So yes, I see a question in the chat box. Thank you very much. I'm with Gulf Coast, that's your LIDA. They can help you make sure you're signed up for the waiver programs. And even if you have to wait 20 years for the waivers, once your child gets them, they are very beneficial. So don't give up on them. Get on the list. The other question I see in the chat box says, what is the main thing to do if you don't have anyone to leave your child with if you're gone? The main thing to make sure that you do is get with your local authority. Use this link right here to search for your local authority. Make sure your child is on their list. And if they're on the list and you pass away, you can get help for your child can get help from them through the HCS waiver to find a place to live, typically a small group home or something like that, where they will be with peers, they will be supervised and taken care of. So this is a listing of all of the Texas waiver programs. Not everybody qualifies for every program, and some of them have very short wait lists because fewer people. Some of them have that 20 to 25 year long wait because they apply to almost everybody. So there are hundreds of thousands of people on the waiting list for some of these programs. For example, CLAS. CLAS gives community-based supports to anyone who is a child or an adult with any related conditions. There are over 200 related conditions that they consider. So as long as started before age 22, you can be on this list. So as you can see, with 200 conditions like cerebral palsy and spina bifida and autism and all of these different things, there are a lot of people waiting to get services. Now, the next one you see, deaf, blind, and multiple disabilities. This is for children and adults who are both deaf and blind and have another disability. So that's a lot more restrictive in who they serve. You might not qualify, so you don't need to be put on that list. But if you do qualify, the wait list is a lot shorter. So the main point of these waiver programs really is to help families and to help keep your children out of state-run facilities or nursing homes. They want to keep your child at home in your care or in being served by, nurses that can come in, support systems that can come in and help, rather than needing to go to a facility of some kind. That's the whole point. So read through this list of programs, decide which ones you might qualify for, and it's best to get on the list whether you qualify or not right now, because you do not have to prove that you qualify until your child comes up on the on the other side of the wait. When their name comes up, they let you know, and they're going to qualify you at that point. If you move waiting list, let them know that you're moving. Let your LITA that you're currently with and the new one know. I see a raised hand. I don't, if you have a question in the chat box, or if you need to text me to let me know what's going on, Meredith, please do. But yes, there's a lot of great programs available to help. Other things to keep on your radar. Let's see. Okay. Other things to keep on your radar. At Consolidated Planning Group, we do webinars several times a week, and we always try to focus on helping you and educating you. So these are some of the other topics that we present. If you're ever interested in seeing these after the fact, if you can't make our noon, lunchtime series and you want to watch at 2 a.m., for example, you just pull them up on our YouTube channel. There's a link to that coming up. But we help families with things like developing that comprehensive special needs care plan, thinking about your future care cost estimates, getting on those Texas waiver lists. If you're having problems getting on the list, we can help you sort that out. Understanding SSI and SSDI and the differences and which one you need to apply for, we can help you with that. Setting up an ABLE account and your beneficiary designations. We can talk to you about your special needs trust and let you know what to do and what attorneys can help you out with that. Residential living communities, we've done panel webinars where we speak with different residential communities, and they kind of present their communities to us. They've been extremely popular panel webinars. Guardianship. We've done webinars with attorneys who present the information about guardianship. As a reminder, there are alternatives. If you don't want full guardianship, or if the state doesn't determine that you need full guardianship, you could have partial guardianship or powers of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, supported decision-making. There are other options available to you. And then, of course, educational options beyond high school. There are a lot of those out there as well. And we've done panels with those, some of those too. This page, the main thing here is just this link in the middle of the page, which will take you, it will be clickable for you, and it'll take you to our website where we have all of our upcoming webinars listed out on the events page. You can register for whatever webinars that you would like to hear more about, and then you'll receive information about them. You'll receive the webinar in your email once it happens, just like you will with this one once we're finished. So this is our team. Again, we're based just outside of Houston, but we serve all of Texas and all across the United States. We're members of the Special Needs Planning Academy and National Social Security Advisors. We're really an independent, a small independent firm. We have 4 advisors and 4 operations managers, well, 3, and a marketing director who is fantastic, who helps us provide all this information and set up these webinars for you. So as you see these smiling faces, please understand that we will be reaching out to see if you're interested with us, completely free, or if you have any further questions about the information today. You could also schedule yourself for your free consultation by using this QR code or by calling our office. Again, we will reach out to you to make sure you have everything you need. Please don't hang up on us. Please be kind. We don't bite, I promise. But this free consultation, what we're really doing is, first of all, we want to answer your questions and what questions you have lingering about special needs planning, what's keeping you up at night. Then we want to learn about you and your family and see what you're going through. And then we'll tell you about how we work, what planning packages we offer, what our fees are. There's no obligation, and this consultation usually takes between 30 to 45 minutes. And then once we're done with that, you determine if you would like to move forward with us, and we help you determine if it's a good match, if we should work together. Please, there's links here to go to our YouTube channel, our Instagram, the podcast, and the Facebook page. So please follow us on any of those social media sites. This is the last slide. Lingering questions for me. Now is the time to get that question into the chat box before I shut down the webinar. But I do want to thank all of you for being here today, for sticking with me. I hope I've provided some great information that you didn't already know. And you can look forward to receiving this information later on today through the email that you registered with. You'll also get my contact information and my office's information so that if you have any other questions or concerns, you can reach out to us. All right. I don't see any more questions. I don't see anything else. So with that, thank you for all of your time and your patience today, your attention. I hope you have a great week. And truly, if you need anything, please, please feel free to reach out. Oh, I do see a question. We are a home care provider agency, serving Laredo, McAllen, and San Antonio. How can we help our members? Please reach out to our office and we can set up a webinar for your organization and your families. Okay. Another question, if you graduate but stay in high school, is transition taken away? You should not lose any benefits if you're still in high school, if you're utilizing a program maybe 21 or 22, that really shouldn't affect your benefits in any negative way. Okay. Again, thank you for being here. And to those of you who just asked those questions, Lewis and Glorianne, if you would like to reach out to me or to our office, we can help you. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and we will talk again soon, I hope. Thank you, everybody.